Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Jnanatimmirandasya Gyanagana Shalakaya Chakshurumitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnu Paraya Krishna Vishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namini. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatari Shatarini. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gauravaktavinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Jai Shri Prabhupada.
Ashka, you will share the screen?
Yes, yes. Are you able to see? Hare Krishna.
Yes, we can.
Chapter 13. Who wants to read? Who wants to read? I start reading.
I can read.
Okay. Yes.
The forest of material enjoyment. The soft snoring of the sleeping guards carried on the still night air. Rahugana glanced over at them, feeling a pang of guilt. How callously he had treated them and his other servants. After Bharata's earlier rebuke, he had laid them all off for the night, telling them to rest. Bharata had really opened his eyes. His powerful words had deeply affected him, but now he realized how attached he was to material life. How could he get free? He said to Bharata, "Great Brahman, please help me cut my attachment to worldly enjoyment." Bharata looked at Rahuguna. That would likely take time. The king saw the world differently to him. While he saw Krishna everywhere, Rahuguna saw only the transient forms of this world. Bharata was always thinking how to serve Krishna, whereas Rahuguna thought only about material enjoyment. The king needed to become disgusted with sense gratification. Somewhere in the distance, jackals howled. The sounds drew Bharata's attention to the foreboding dark shadows of the surrounding forests. It gave him an idea. Maybe he could speed up the process of detachment for Rahuguna. Turning back to the king, Bharata said, "My dear Rahuguna, I will narrate an allegory."
We'll pause here. Yeah. Go back, Ashka, please go back to the page. So, this point here, the king needed to become disgusted with sense gratification. I just wanted to bring that point up because Nitya Kishori was just telling us about that aspect of sense gratification. We can't force somebody to give up sense gratification. I can't just tell, hey, why you didn't give to the class? Why didn't you come to the class? Are you doing sense gratification? That doesn't bring us disgust with sense gratification. It has to come as a result of deep realization. And what Jadabharata is doing here is not making Rahugana feel guilty at all. Like, earlier we were discussing, we can't force our children to take up to spiritual life because they should be tired with material life. It has to happen on its own accord. And so the word disgusted, it cannot be forced. That's the word. Maybe Nitya Kishori has something to say about disgusted with sense gratification thing. I was saying that we can't force giving up sense gratification. I want to say something about it. I think gradually.
Oh, Krishna, what is going on? You all three together.
Yes,
yeah,
Mataji.
yeah.
Mataji here and there. Oh, kya baat hai. Amazing.
I'm at the house of Nitya Kishori, and Komal Mataji also came. We just had lunch together.
Wow. Super.
I'm so happy to be with them.
Me too. Thank you so much.
Even we are happy to seeing you all
Mataji,
together.
you should all join us.
Yeah, yes.
So far, it's only Rukmini Priya that I haven't met physically, and also Rasastali Mataji. The rest,
Soon, Mataji, right? Soon you will come visit me.
DC. Yeah, so we were actually just discussing this point about this being disgusted with sense gratification. We were discussing how, like, she was wondering how to inspire their daughters to become a little more disgusted with material life. And with Nitya Kishori, we were discussing how some, maybe some preachers are very pushy by forcing us to become disgusted with our material life. You want to say something about it? Either of you?
So I think Mataji more. Okay, I hope it will not equal. It will equal. Okay. So I think more we are convinced that more we are growing in Krishna consciousness, more we are convinced about Krishna is there, and so I think these things actually have minimized. These things really have very minimized value to us, because this we started otherwise obviously sense, because we have senses and they are really so powerful that even one of these sense is uncontrolled. So Krishna also says in Bhagavad Gita, it will take you away. And like a for elephant, sense of touch only is because of that only he falls down in a trap. For a bee, sense of smell only. And for us it's really difficult to control senses, so we don't I think we don't have to control senses, just engaging, because more we engage our senses in service of Krishna, I think more our faith from these things will fade. Yes, yes. So yeah.
Good point. Hi, Krishna, Taruni, Radha.
Hello. Hare Krishna. So nice to see you.
Discussing about this point that King Rahugana needed to become disgusted with sense gratification. And we're trying to understand what that means for us.
I think when knowledge gets really awoken, that time also a soul can actually turn towards understanding that sense gratification is not the real goal of life. It comes by association. And when somebody really realized, explains, then that kind of awakening happens. That's also there. And then when we get that knowledge, and then slowly we'll realize the futility of this kind of sense gratification, and then disgust comes. As itself, I mean, in and as a, in and out, what is it? By itself, just by, continuing a lot of sense gratification, doing more and more and more, just like when you scratch the itch, it's going to get more and more. That's what Adnath Maharaj says. So the more you keep on doing it, there's never a stop. There's never a time where somebody will just get disgusted with sense gratification. It can never happen because the soul has come here to enjoy. So it can never ever happen like that. But that can only happen when a realized soul gives mercy by giving the knowledge. And then, that because of their empowerment, then only we'll get a conditioned soul will realize, oh my God, let me just, let me pause and think what's going on. What is my goal? And, then slowly with that realization, then kind of discuss towards sense gratification can happen. That's the way I understand it.
Yeah, also one more point was here. I mean, this is like a point about sattva. Like it's good that Rahugana came to this point, and then he's able to go further because he was
Coming to
already,
the mode of goodness.
Yeah, it's good because we were discussing like somebody, his family is very much in the mode of goodness, but they're not so keen for spiritual life, direct spiritual sadhana life. And we were thinking like still goodness is always closer. to spirituality, then somebody in the mode of ignorance. Of course, I'm thinking of passion. He was before in the mode of passion.
Yeah.
Dhruva Maharaj also, he was a little bit in passion, but still they came to sattva
And
then come.
But sattva is also a hindrance, right? You just said like it's better, but it's still like, I mean, you're content.
You know what is the risk of sattva? Like we met somebody in sattva, such a pious girl, very graceful. And what happens is this person is never going to do something crazy because they're in sattva. But the enjoyment is going to be very limitedly, slowly, because they know that I can't cross certain things. They're not going to do drugs. They're not going to do some crazy stuff. So they will always remain. But eventually, because of the parents, because of prayers, because of mercy of devotees, once they come, they will be set quick. But I think the idea is sattva is always better than tamas, and sattva is always better than rajas, because in rajas we may feel, oh, because of desire I did it, or because of some mistakes I'm coming closer to Krishna, but that's not the ideal. The ideal is to be in sattva. I think you've done a great job.
Thank you.
Yes, Taruni Radha, please go ahead.
Yeah, I was just hearing, it was so funny, something around this tattva thing only. Like how this Ajamala, right? He was in the mode of, what? He was a trained Brahmin, during his childhood and all that. So very much he was in sattva, and he was chanting his mantra and everything. So he was continuing, he wasn't that kind of a person that you would say, like ideally very much sattvic. But then something happened, and then the fall down happens. So what the speaker was conveying is that see, sattva without bhakti, right, there's no meaning to it, because it can always be conquered by other modes. He was idle, yeah, he was very ideal candidate for like bhakti and all that, but it did not happen, right, until some devotee comes in somebody's life, right? It is very, very hard. So in and of itself, sattva doesn't. It's really good because it's like dry wood. It easily get ignited, like the way you're explaining. But then the modes keep on competing, so it can never stay like that only. Material sattva doesn't stay and last forever. It can keep on changing. There's no guarantee that person who's very sattvic, you can guarantee he's going to be like that till they die. It's not going to happen. It can keep on changing. So what is very, very, very important is the devotee association. When the devotee association happens, then only by that touch of the pure devotee, then things change.
Yeah, it's true. Very well said. That was actually Komal's point. But I was just trying to.
We were just talking about my daughter, actually, honestly, I mean, so they are not very inclined towards, I mean.
No, don't worry. By the touch of Sri Radha Govinda, everything will be set.
Because, the daughter is so sattvic and so sweet and so educated, so classy. And it's just that sometimes I was saying good karma can sometimes be an obstacle for us to surrender to Krishna consciousness, because good karma doesn't make you feel desperate to change something that you have. Sattva is not about change. They like everything as it is. They don't need they don't have she says, no, I want to just be a better person. Like the sattva is about satisfaction. Why should I run after service in the temple? Why should I stress my body and go and do service? I'm okay as I am. So I was saying that, you see, like association, as she was saying, association of devotees, mercy of the devotees, blessings of the devotees is very extraordinary. Yeah. I'll keep in touch with her when I go to ask.
Sure. Yeah.
2 fingers short.
Yeah, 2 fingers short. Yeah, I think it's a combination. Ultimately, it's the mercy. Like, I mean, today I was thinking, I was doing deity service, and it's a very sattvic service. And several years ago, I would think, why am I wasting time ringing bells and moving my fingers? What am I doing? Why don't I go and do something substantial? That was the mood. And is that bad? Is that good? Sometimes it's the evolution. And now I'm coming to the point of this is a meditation. And then even me being those 2 hours, 2.5 hours in the altar and preparing the scene, I went home yesterday and I produced so much that in 2 days, what I produced, I was not able to produce for 2 months earlier. So the deity worship, I may think it's a waste of time. Yes, I'll put it. I may think it's a waste of time or whatever, because it's sattva. So a person in Rajoguna may feel I have to do a lot for Krishna. No, I should be running around. And a person in sattva says, no, by my presence, just being is enough. So I think the truth is somewhere in the middle.
Madhaji, what I really appreciate about you is the honesty. Like, when you say that, if you tell somebody like, oh, what am I doing ringing bells? It's a big thing to say, right? In front of a group of devotees. I really appreciate your honesty.
Because the mind goes there.
Yeah.
There is a tendency of the mind to say, what are you doing? You came all the way from India. Why are you ringing bells? Go and do something more productive. But then that's the passionate side of me, and I need to address it.
One thing I was thinking about, like how your daughter is that somebody who's who's saying very satisfied, right? They can you can question them as to what is their sense of goal in life. What do they want to achieve? Just become a better person. A lot of better persons, are they really happy? What is your sense of happiness? What is your sense of goal? What is your sense of death, which is awaiting everyone? So what are your thoughts about it? And when they are able to explain and articulate, then you can give your Krishna conscious perspective, which is eternal, right?
Mataji, she's a great debater and I am very poor at talking. So we need somebody like Radha Govind Mataji to basically,
That's why I said earlier, it's only about Shri Radha
No, we
Govinda.
don't need to debate. That's my point. My point is Rahu Gana came to this point exactly when he needed to come. Everything has a right time. Her experiences are important for her to come to the point that she will herself come. You've done your best. You've given her a good example. You've given her good culture. You've given her good background. You're connecting her with devotees. Like I found out this restaurant, so it's a devotee restaurant somewhere. If she has that openness, Krishna will come. We can't choose Krishna, Krishna chooses us.
Is that really true, Mataji, that Krishna chooses us? Because Krishna is not partial to anybody. So how can he choose us? Because I think that we only choose him.
There are 10 subjects of Srimad Bhagavatam, right?
Yeah, yes.
So there is the Sthanam. Sthanam is he's impartial, he maintains the world, he maintains every living entity. But then there's also Poshanam. That he doesn't give everyone. He chooses. So,
and what is his criteria for choosing?
ask Srimati Radharani. Serve her. If you serve her, then he'll be pleased.
Maybe our previous janam, we must have done something pious,
Sukriti.
Sukriti, yeah.
Agyatak Sukriti. So Krishna's mercy is not shown by quantitative service that we count. It's not seen by what we see. Because Krishna's eyes are prema. No, it's like Krishna, to be able to see Krishna's intentions, we need Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochanena. So our eyes needs to be tainted with love. If we taint our eyes with perfectionism, if we taint our love with judgment or whatever, we cannot. But Krishna doesn't see those things. For Krishna, I was telling about that case, no? The person who's in prison. We may see, pura uska life hi kharab ho gaya, what he ruined his life. But maybe for Krishna is like this: your last life, don't do any nonsense, stay in prison, I'll get you back to Godhead.
But it's very hard as a person to accept it, right? Very, very hard, right? Like I'm in prison, like that's the end of
everything.
Yeah.
It's similar with some other issues too. Sometimes we may be suffering. And for us, it's like, why? I want it to stop. And Krishna is saying, but you don't understand. I have the end for it, but end of so many other things. And what you want to end now. Maybe there is something else. I don't want you to experience that. Like a parent, right? Don't do this. I'm preventing you from something bigger. We don't know what is behind
We don't
Krishna's
know,
purpose.
we can't understand his plans.
Even character-wise, earlier before the call, we were discussing about some difficult character. We may judge them by how they speak or what they do, but who knows what Krishna is seeing? Maybe he's seeing the intention behind his services.
Yeah, yes.
We don't know what he's seeing. I mean, look what Ajamil. Ajamil didn't even consciously call Krishna. He said Narayana because he was calling his son. But then Krishna said, Allah, give him you. Putana. She came to kill Krishna. He said, oh, she came to feed me. Let me give her liberation. So we don't know. Krishna is seeing intention, he's seeing action, he's seeing who knows what. So we continue reading the forest of material enjoyment. So Rahugana is hearing this allegory. Somebody else likes to read?
I can read. Then you have to mute.
Okay. It echoes.
It exposes the true nature of the material world, which resembles this forest. Think of it as the forest of material enjoyment. Conditioned souls are like merchants stumbling along a hard path through the forest seeking to sell their goods. The broad path they travel represents repeated birth and death. It has 3 subsidiary tracts, each lined with fruit bearing shrubs. The merchants are heedless of the difficulties they face because their attention is on the fruit lining the 3 tracks. What do these paths represent? The 3 modes of nature, replied Bharata. The fruits lining the goodness track are auspicious. Those lining the ignorance track are inauspicious. Whereas the truth lining the passion track are mixed. Can you explain that in more detail? The fruit of goodness enable one to live religiously, enjoy prosperity and sense enjoyment in this material world, and ultimately attain liberation or the bliss merging in the impersonal Brahman. The fruits of ignorance increase the conditioned soul's foolishness and illusion and consequently send him to hell, while the fruits of passion are mixed because they produce both worldly pleasure and suffering. Now let us turn to the allegory. The merchant enters the dangerous forest to obtain articles he can later sell for profit. Similarly, conditioned souls toil in this world so that they can later enjoy. As he passes through the forest, 6 powerful plunderers deceive and rob him. It exposes. Okay. Similarly, the conditioned soul's 6 senses misguide and plunder him. Sometimes the merchant builds a makeshift shelter in the forest to safeguard his livestock, but ferocious animals like tiger and jackals break in and take them. Similarly, the conditioned soul's spouse and children occupy the heart and steal one's mind away from one's actual interest, self realization. In this forest of material enjoyment, there are dense bowers full of bushes, long grasses, and creepers in which the traveler become entangled. There are these are the gainful activities the conditioned souls pursues to earn a livelihood. When the merchant enter these bowers, mosquitoes which are like envious people cruelly bite him. Sometimes he sees a hallucination, a splendid palace in the forest. This is comparable to the conditioned soul, imagining that his body and house are permanent. The merchant sometimes sees a fleeting fiend or ghost flying through the sky like a shooting star. This is analogous to the conditioned soul seeking opportunities to get gold. My dear King Rahugana, deluded by attachment to his home, family members, wealth, and so forth, The merchant rushes about in the pursuit of material success. Sometimes a dust storm binds him. This
Blinds.
is blinds him. This is analogous to the lust that blinds a man when he wants to enjoy sex with his wife. Like one blinded by a dust devil, a person blinded by passion commits many sins to satisfy his lust, not knowing that his activities are being observed and recorded by different gods.
Wow. Any comments, questions? Someone else likes to continue reading? More reading or stop?
Should I continue? What should I do?
I read Mataji.
We have 3 minutes more. We can pause.
Okay.
Rasistali Mataji, if you like, you can do the affirmation.
Okay. Affirmation 16. My beads are my connection with Krishna and my ticket back to Godhead. Srila Prabhupada wrote to Giriraj Swami, your beads are your connection to Krishna. Prabhupada also said, 16 rounds is your ticket back to Godhead. On one occasion, he told Sri Vikiramana Swami that chanting is the essence of our philosophy. And he told Hansaduta Prabhu that the purpose of reading his books is to bring up to the stage of pure chanting. Still, we sometimes forget how important chanting is. Obviously, japa is essentially important because it is the only activity we vow to do when we take initiation. We vow not to do 4 things and vow to do 1 thing. In Kali Yuga, chanting is the most important process in devotional service. So if we don't give priority to our chanting, then our spiritual life will suffer. One of the purpose of the japa retreats and japa workshops is to inspire devotees to give more importance to their japa. When we give more importance to our chanting naturally improves. Sometimes we see that devotees go to a japa workshop, but in a few weeks the importance they give to the holy name diminishes. Even though they learned much, they can easily revert to their former ways of chanting if they don't make japa a priority. This is because what we give importance to is what we do well. If we don't give importance to our relationships, we probably won't have good relationships. If we don't give importance to earning money, we probably won't have much money. If we don't give importance to our health, we probably won't be really good shape. And if we don't give importance to japa, our japa probably won't be good. If we give more importance to our japa, it will naturally improve. The purpose of this affirmation is to remind us or to make us aware that japa is the most important activity of our day, of all the rules and regulations given to us. Srila Prabhupada said that chanting 16 rounds is the most essential, and the other processes are contained within our japa. Thus, japa is something we never want to minimize, something that must always be given the highest priority. Hare Krishna.
Harinam Sankirtan ki jai, Shri Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Okay, Time to invoke the holy names to purify our existence. I will stop the live. She's doing Archana.
No, she's playing.
I thought she was doing something like this. No.